Good afternoon. This is Thursday, August 3rd, and I'm going to give you a tour of my garden. Right now we're looking at the entrance to my chicken coop. They're an important part of my garden as they eat the weeds and they give me compost, which I can use as organic fertilizer. My garden is organic, and so is the pasture around it, so that really helps. And I'll take you for a walk to my garden. This is the entrance to my garden along the back side. We have 2 dogs, and so we really had to make sure that we had a way of keeping them out of the garden. So we made a fence around it, and this is the entrance on the back side. It's made out of cattle panel, which you can pick up at a tractor supply store we got from the TSC right here in Mount Pleasant. Along this side here is another piece of cattle panel we have just standing up on end like it's supposed to, and it's the trellis for pie pumpkins. I'm gonna try to get a closer view here. So you can see on this brick here we have a nice pie pumpkin growing, and we do have some others. This one here I just tied up so it has support as it grows and it doesn't break off the plant. So these are pie pumpkins. And then here, I don't know if you can see them very well because of the glare, but I have pole beans growing up on this side. And everything's a little slow taking off. By this time of year, the pole beans and then the peas that are over here on this side, these guys here, by this time they should have completely covered the arbor that we have, but things are a little slow, so they're not there yet. This is my squash area. I have a bunch of different things growing here. In the middle of it all, I do have corn. I actually have 2 rows of corn, but it's hard to see with the squash leaves covering it. But they work in harmony together. The squash leaves keep the corn cool so it can grow without drying out. And then in the back, in the middle of all these weeds back here, I have 2 different types of squash that actually grew out of waste that we threw into my compost bin, which I'll show you in a minute. So we're not sure what they are, and they're quite happy here among the weeds. So we just let them be, and we'll find out what they are come harvest time. We think one is a spaghetti squash, and the other one might be a pumpkin. But again, we'll find out when it's harvest time. This is my compost bin. This is what I was using until we got the chickens. I do use it still for some heavier stuff like brush and things that the chickens can't work with. But most of the stuff now goes to the chickens. Any leftovers though we do throw in here, like if we have a lot of grass or something we'll put in there, but generally everything else goes to the chickens now. Over here is my rhubarb, and then behind the rhubarb is my strawberries. And they didn't do so well this year because it was hot and I didn't give them enough nutrients, so we only got a few berries. But I don't know if you can see it, we do have quite a few runners, so the plants are actually really healthy now. They're doing great. I do have a lavender plant in there as well to help with pollinators. So by the fall and by next spring, this bed should be loaded with strawberries, and I'll actually have to pull some out and donate them to other people. This here is mammoth sunflowers. The one in the back there, that's almost 6 foot tall. So they're pretty large sunflowers. I'm really excited that they grew so well. Over here is my zucchini. And again, my garden took off really late this year, but now they're really starting to grow. So I'm hoping I'll have a decent harvest. as time goes by. I do have some yellow zucchini. I saw some starting to grow. The green's still a little too small yet, but we're getting there. This bed here, see if I can go lower to the ground for you, is my, this is cauliflower in this bed. As you can see, the plants are very, very, very tiny. That's why I have these flags here that my husband picked up from the side of the road, actually, to mark them so they don't get trampled on. And next to these, I have planted, this is peppermint, and then there's also a pineapple sage, or pineapple peppermint, I think is the variegated one in the back. And mints keep cabbage moths away. And cabbage moths, as many people know, are not good things to have. They will destroy a cabbage crop in a couple days. So we keep them away organically by using companion plants. Okay. This right here, this guy, right here. And we have another one right behind it. These are elderberries. You have to have 2 in order to cross-pollinate. And elderberries are very good for colds and other infectious kind of things that your body is trying to fight off. You can do research on it yourself just to see what they're good for. I probably won't get any elderberries this year because these plants are still way too young. But it's okay. I'm really happy to see that they're finally growing strong. And so that's what I'm looking for. I can wait a year to get the berries. No big deal. These are some cucumbers that I planted. Again, really late. And took a while for them to take root and get the required nutrients. So now they're finally starting to grow. And I think by next week we'll really start seeing some vines come out of these guys. And we'll start seeing cucumbers. This bed here was my lettuce bed. Those are lettuce in the back, black-seeded Simpson. Didn't really care for it, a little too peppery for me, but it was interesting. That's our resident mouser, Sarah. Lots of basil. The basil was really, really, really tiny, kind of like this little lettuce plant here. But with the right nutrients, the right fertilizers, they finally took off, and now they're pretty big. We have a squash plant that a friend gave us. We're not sure what it is. She doesn't know what it is. But we like surprises. So it's growing nice and healthy, and we'll see what it is when it's time to harvest. Over here, this is a bush watermelon. It's binding out a little bit, but generally bush watermelons stay nice and compact so they don't take up a lot of space. I haven't seen any flowers or anything on it yet. But again, my garden is a little behind, so maybe by next week we'll start seeing some flowers and maybe have a watermelon. Not sure. This is the start of my herb garden. It goes along the wall of the garage here. This plant here is yarrow. And then next to it I have a lavender that I transplanted. It's not doing too well, but we'll see. And this is echinacea, otherwise known commonly as coneflower. And then in the pot over here, this is ginger root. And I'll probably have to take this inside in the winter. Ginger root has a very long growing season, and it's a tropical plant, so it won't survive the winter. You actually have to take it inside. Behind the ginger, I do have stevia. It's about ready to harvest, at least the one plant. You just dry it, and then crumble the leaves up, grind it up, and that's your sugar. It's a natural sugar substitute. Next to the stevia, we have chives. And then next to the chives, we have lemongrass. It's not very big yet, but it should be pretty big by the fall. Then we have horehound, lavender, this big guy's valerian root. It takes a couple years before you can harvest that, but the valerian root and the lavender and the chamomile here, they're all very good relaxants and sleep aids. So I have all three of them here. That guy is just a weed. No, it's a bush that we can't seem to get rid of. And then we have a rosemary plant. I have rosemary throughout the garden. It's a very good plant for repelling mosquitoes and insects that you don't really want. So we've got it in a couple places. This guy's mugwort. And we have lemon balm. This guy's a mammoth marigold. I have a couple of them in my garden. I grew them from seeds, so it's kind of neat. They're really, really tall. Oregano. This is blue salvia. It's actually in the sage family. It's got a sage-like flavor. It actually has a blue flower on it, which is why it's called blue salvia. And in the back there's a pot of stinging nettle. And you have to wear gloves when messing with that guy because they do sting. That's why they have a name. But they're very good medicinally. Okay, over here, these are my potatoes. Believe it or not, these huge plants here came from just two potatoes. Each plant is one potato that was put in a straw bed. So that's what planting organically can look like if you do it the correct way and with the Lord's blessing. They're just huge plants. And these little plants here, these are sweet potatoes. And I might not get a harvest this year because they're not doing so well. They're really taking a long time to grow. And sweet potatoes actually need a very tropical temperature to grow, which right now we almost have. We're almost in the 90s. But we'll see what the Lord blesses us with at the end of the year if we actually have a harvest of sweet potatoes. This here is my broccoli bed, and I do believe I have some Brussels sprouts in it. They're finally starting to take off. I do have a couple of plants that are starting to get a nice size. I mean, we got a ways to go, but they were really struggling for a while, but now we're getting there. Again, to keep cabbage moths at bay, we have mints in here. This particular bed has spearmint and chocolate mint planted in it. On the other side of my elderberries, I have my tomato plants. These are Roma tomatoes. And I also have some different herbs planted in them, some basils, some rosemary, and some parsley, which helps keep bad bugs away and actually improves the flavor of tomatoes. That's what's there. Over here, these are my peppers. Looks like they need a little more nitrogen, maybe some Epsom salt. They're starting to yellow a little bit. In the front is calendula. Very good plant for minor cuts and scrapes and burns. It's a very good skin healing herb among some other things. So a very nice specimen there. And behind it we have some more lemon balm. Lemon balm is a very, very good plant. I've used it quite a bit recently to help with coughs and colds. Right here is almost a gardener's best friend. This you want to have in your garden if you're doing an organic garden. This is called buckwheat. So any of you who've had buckwheat pancakes or anything like that, this is where it comes from. Buckwheat's actually not a wheat. I can't remember how it got the name, but you grind the little seeds up and it gives you a flour. So it's kind of interesting. And the reason, again, that you want buckwheat in your garden is because it keeps, let's see if I can get a close-up shot without it flying away. It keeps bad bugs away. Buckwheat serves as a decoy. So any bad bugs that would come into your garden, like Japanese beetles, this one has box elder bugs in it because we do have a box elder tree. Things like that. It's a decoy plant, so those bad bugs come over here and bug the buckwheat. And it's also very good for bringing in more pollinators to your crops as well. Over here is my carrots. I also have some leftover radishes. I planted them together because the radishes don't take long to grow. They're a 30-day growth cycle, and then carrots take like 60 days before they even sprout. So you plant your radishes, and they break up and loosen the ground for the carrots to grow in. Because as many people know, carrots need nice loose soil to grow, or they just don't do very well. So yep, this is my carrots. And then in the pot I have snapdragons, the flower, and because we are a little behind, they don't have flowers on them yet, but I actually do see some buds starting to form. So it'll be kind of cool to see what colors I have. I grew them from seed. Has some more. These are broccoli. We're starting to get there. And also, if you can see, we have oak trees. See if you can see them here. Some oak trees growing. They're growing out of the acorns that are in the leaf mulch underneath. We're just letting them be. They're small, they're not bugging anything yet. By the time they get a little bit bigger, we can transplant them to a better space. This is my rose garden. It also has some herbs in it. Roses and herbs like to get along very well. It has thyme in it. There's some leftover basil plants that I had. I just threw them in here. Some rosemary. I have a lettuce plant that I let go to seed so I can collect seed and plant my own lettuce next year out of my own seed. And we also have some potatoes here that we're guessing some potatoes just got dropped on the ground and got covered up without us realizing it. And well, nature took its course and we have some potato plants over here. This is the blue salvia. I don't know if you can see it with the blue flower on it. It's really pretty. And then we have milkweed, of course. We left the milkweed because it's a necessity for the monarch butterfly. This particular milkweed is the only milkweed variety that monarch butterflies actually grow on. They eat it as caterpillars. They have a cocoon on this thing, and then it goes into all of its stages, and then it comes out as a monarch butterfly. So we've left all of our milkweed alone for the most part, so we can have a healthy supply, or not supply, but a healthy group of monarch butterflies if we can help it. And then behind the monarch butterfly, or monarch butterfly loving plant I should put, this is a catmint or catnip. Same plant, just a couple different names. And my Sarah loves it, and so does my indoor cats. People would say that catnip is a cat's marijuana. I don't like to think of it that way, but it's a good plant to have for bees alike and other pollinators. They like catnip as well, and it keeps mosquitoes and stuff away. So there you have it. This is how my garden's doing right now. Getting out of the gate took a while, but we're starting to get there. Praise the Lord. All glory and honor goes to Him. God bless and have a blessed day. Bye-bye now.